Hare Krishna. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuruntamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Dadati Swakadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaditam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Vita Shri Vishakam Vitamascha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusite Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Vishnu Padaya Krishna Visabhutari Prabhupada Priya Shri Guriraja Swami Subhaktra Raras Bihari Dham Bhakti Vis Chatmadayani Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Visabhutari Shmati Bhaktivedanta Swami Purnamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharuni Nirvishesha Shri Advaita Sratadeshotadana Mukham Karochi Vachalam Panghinyangantu Guru Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatavarani Hare Krishna. So welcome back to our reading study of Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are on Adi Lila, chapter 7. So this is a discussion about Vedanta Sutra. What is Vedanta Sutra? And we have heard that from Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that this Vedanta Sutra consists of section from the Upanishads and the Brahmana. What's that? Brahman Samhita, what is that? What do you call it? Where can we find it? Can anybody find where it is described?
Brahma Sutra?
No. What is Brahma Sutra? Who will tell me what is Brahma Sutra?
Mataji, these are aphorisms also referred to as Vedanta Sutra.
So Vedanta Sutra consists of what?
Concise form, whatever is given in Upanishads and Brahmana portion of Vedas, that's what Vedanta Sutras are.
Okay, and what's the Brahmana portion of the Vedas? Do you remember what they are? What are these?
It was some hymns which were sung in some rituals, if I remember correctly. I'm sorry.
So, Brahma portion refers to that portion which states the rules for employment of times and various sacrifices and gives detailed explanations of their origins, sometimes with lengthy illustration in the form of legends and stories. It is distinct from the mantra portion of the Vedas. So this Brahmana portion of the Vedas apply to Grihasthas. All right. The Upanishads Samhitas, the Samhitas. Therefore, the brahmacharis, the brahmanas, therefore the grihastas, the aranyaka of vanaprasth, and Upanishads are for the sannyasis. They're the portions of the Vedas. All right. So,
मेरे क्लास में पानी डाल के रख देना प्लीज
so now we are on text
बेल
109.
कौन आया
Yeah, Shashi, what you're saying? You can mute yourself. Yeah, 109. Gona Vritye Bhabhasya Karila Acharya Tahara Shravane Masahai Saravakarya. Shripad Shankaracharya has described all the Vedic literatures in terms of indirect meanings. One who hears such explanations is ruined. So Shripad Shankaracharya has described all the Vedic literatures in terms of indirect meanings. One who hears such explanation is ruined. Gona Vritye Eva Bhashya Karila Acharya Tahara Shravane Nashakhai Sarva Karya. Tanhara Nahika Dosha Ishvara Gyapana Gonartha Karila Mukhya Artha Acharya. Shankaracharya is not at fault, for it is under the order of the Supreme Person Godhead that he has covered the real purpose of the Vedas. Right now, see, who's speaking here?
Lord Chaitanya.
Yes, and what is Lord Chaitanya saying?
That Shankaracharya's commentary on the Vedanta Sutra covers its meaning up, but he is not at fault because Lord Narayan or Supreme Personality of Godhead had ordered him to do so.
And he made such a heavy statement in 109, right? He said, Shripad Shankaracharya has described all the Vedic literatures in terms of indirect meanings. And then what did he say? What does he say? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did he say?
one is ruined if he hears the indirect these indirect explanations
Yeah. Do you realize the importance of what's going on here? Here's Shankaracharya, who is like accepted and known by everyone. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that if you listen to the indirect meaning of Shankaracharya, one who hears such explanation is ruined.
but at the same time he Shankaracharya was ordered by the Lord to do that.
Yeah. So what I'm saying that if, it's like ISKCON devotees, like sometimes we feel, oh, we shouldn't say anything about Shankaracharya because it really creates disturbance, right? On whose authority are we saying that if we hear the explanation of Shankaracharya, if we hear the explanation of Shankaracharya, one is ruined? On whose authority?
Mahaprabhu.
Yeah. All right. So it's not that, and we very innocently we are saying that what actually we are doing, we're repeating the words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You follow? So it's not that, it's not that I get into a conflict with somebody, right? It's not that, it's not our personal opinion. This is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Shankaracharya is an authority in the Vedas, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also an authority in the Vedas. So the Mayavadis, Prakashananda Saraswati, their authority is who?
Shankaracharya.
Shankaracharya, all right? The Mayavadis, their authority, Prakashananda Saraswati, his authority is Shankaracharya. And here, Lord Chaitanya said, if you hear the indirect meaning, he didn't say that if you hear Shankaracharya, he said, if you hear the indirect meaning of the Vedic literatures as described by Shripad Shankaracharya, then you are ruined. You follow? Understand the difference? What's the difference, Anupama?
What is the difference between? I didn't get the question.
Yeah, I said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you listen, if you hear the indirect meaning of the Vedic literatures as explained by Sripadacharya, you're ruined. He didn't say that if you hear Shankaracharya, you're ruined. What's the difference?
Because the meaning given is indirect. You may not be able to get it. It is hidden in it. It is covered. So the explanation will not reveal the truth. So if you follow that, it will lead to darkness for that person. It will lead to ignorance, not knowledge.
Then what's the other one?
Mataji, if I may add, possibly is not wanting to, Mahaprabhu is not offending Shripad Shankaracharya or committing an aparadh against him. He is just saying that Shankaracharya has given an indirect explanation. And as Anupama Mataji said, it is hiding the real truth. So I think that's...
Yes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is not attacking Shankaracharya. All right? What is he doing? He's saying there is fault in the explanation of the Vedic literature. You follow this? He's not like saying the person. All right. Meaning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has no issue with Shankaracharya. All right. You follow? But what he's saying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not agreeing to what he's teaching. This is very, very important. Very important. So like this, if there is any opposing philosophy, so you not go, you attack the person, you say this X, Z, he's like this. No. What is he saying? What is he teaching? This is what we want to know. And this is what we want to check whether it is bona fide or is it half truth, quarter truth, or no truth after all, or maybe it's the truth. All right. Are you able to follow this? What we are talking about?
So Mataji, should we take it as it was was a shastra weapon to counter the Shunyavad that time? So for that it could counter, good weapon. But if one wanted to know the real meaning, then one is ruined if he goes by this explanation. Should we take it like that?
We're going to hear more about this in the purport, but I'm just making a point that if there is like a philosopher, all right, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not taking like a personal attack on Shankaracharya. He is only taking his version of the Vedas. This is what he's disagreeing with. All right? It's very important in your preaching. No issue at all with the person, but with what he is saying. We are not agreeing with what he's saying. remember, I keep saying this, that the Vedic culture is very cultured, highly civilized and extremely cultured. So it's not that, one will take, arms and say, you follow me, verbal arms or whatever arms, right? All right. It's highly cultured and civilized. So we saw how the sannyasi, the Mayavadi sannyasis, they were criticizing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? And that criticism went to the ears of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then his disciples said, do something about it. We don't like it, right? So Mahaprabhu, he accepted an invitation and prasadam, and usually say he doesn't sit and eat with the Mayavadis, but he accepted an invitation. So when he went there, now there is a discussion between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Mayavadis. So both sides are highly cultured. So that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is able to open it, just like Prakashananda Saraswati say, yeah, we agree with all, but why? Why do you avoid us? What's wrong with us that we don't like to associate with us? Right? And why don't you study Vedanta Sutra? Very, very straightforward. And Mahaprabhu also is, and see how Prakashananda Saraswati, how he saw Mahaprabhu and he just loved him. Remember?
Yes.
Right? He just, he saw Mahaprabhu so effulgent, he just loved him. And where he was sitting on his seat, he came down and he picked up Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? Why would he do it? Like he felt love and said, you are Narayan, and it turned out that he's actually Narayan, even though Mayavadis call everybody Narayan, but this one is actually Narayan. So the whole interaction is highly cultured. But as Anupama just said, Astra, all right? They're disagreeing on Shastra. And from the other side, the Mayavadis didn't make any secret about it, that they don't appreciate it. And now Mahaprabhu is counteracting, and he's not making any secret also about the philosophy. All right, no compromise. So he said that Sripad Shankaracharya has described all the Vedic literatures in terms of indirect meanings. Gona Vritye. All right? Indirect meaning. One who hears such explanations is ruined. It's strong. Now, Shankaracharya is not at fault, for it is under the order of the Supreme Person Godhead that he has covered the real purpose of the Vedas. The Vedic literature is to be considered a source of real knowledge. But if one doesn't take it as it is, like Bhagavad Gita as it is, one will be misled. For example, Bhagavad Gita is an important Vedic literature that has been taught for many years. But because it was commented upon by unscrupulous rascals, the Prabhupada is saying all these commentators are unscrupulous rascals. People derive no benefit from it, and no one came to the conclusion of Krishna consciousness. Since the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is now being presented as it is, however, within 4 or 5 short years, thousands of people all over the world have become Krishna conscious. So meaning that a bona fide scripture, is a life manual. All right? So if you get the wrong, it has the name Bhagavad Gita, but the content is not Bhagavad Gita. What's the use? right? So people just took, something and they interpreted, they gave according to their own. So Prabhupada said, who are they? Unscrupulous rascals, meaning they had some motives. Unscrupulous. They had some motives. So they took the shlokas, they read Krishna's words and they put in their own understanding of the shlokas. So therefore, nobody surrendered to Krishna. Nobody could follow the path of Krishna, right? But when Prabhupada is saying now that Bhagavad Gita is being presented as it is, immediately people understand it. They say, oh, this is what Krishna wants us to do. We were not understanding. Now we know patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati ragili, right? Offer your food, yat karoshi, yat juhoshi, what? Yadasi yat. Whatever you're doing, whatever you give away, whatever yajna you perform, do it as an offering to me, very simple instruction, right? You honor the body, you're the soul, there is the soul never dies. So all these instruction, and finally, very, very simple way, when it is presented as it is, then people understand and they're able to follow. Otherwise, the manual is of no use. So that is the difference between direct and indirect explanations of the Vedic literature. Therefore, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Mukhya Vritye se Artha Parama Mahatva. To teach the Vedic literature according to its direct meaning without false commentary is glorious. Unfortunately, Sri Shankaracharya, by the order of the Supreme Person Godhead, compromised between atheism and theism in order to teach the atheists and bring them to theism. And to do so, he gave up the direct method of Vedic knowledge and tried to present a meaning which is indirect. It is with this purpose that he wrote the Shariraka Bhasya commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So, okay. So what did Shankaracharya do when he presented his texts? Right. So Shankaracharya, so he couldn't give everything at one go. So what did he do? He compromised between atheism and theism and gradually bring them to theism. One should not therefore attribute very much importance to the Shariraka Bhasya. In order to understand Vedanta philosophy, one must study Srimad Bhagavatam, which begins with the word Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Janmadi Asya Yaton Vaya Itaratas Chateshu Avidyaswara. I offer my obeisances unto Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, who is the supreme all-pervading personality of Godhead. I meditate upon him, the transcendent reality, who is the primeval cause of all causes, from whom all manifested universes arise, and in whom they dwell, and by whom they are destroyed. I meditate upon that eternally effulgent Lord, who is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and yet is fully independent. Srimad Bhagavatam is the real commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So this was quotation from the very first verse, first canto, first chapter, first verse. Unfortunately, if one is attracted to Sri Shankaracharya's commentary, Shariraka Bhasya, his spiritual life is doomed. One may argue that since Shankaracharya is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, how is it that he cheated people in this way? The answer that he did so on the order of his master. the Supreme Person Godhead. This is confirmed in the Padma Puran in the words of Lord Shiva himself. Mayavadam vasakshastam prachannam bodham uchate eva kalpitam devi kalo brahmana rupiya. Brahmanascha param rupam nirgunam vakshate maya sarva swam jagatu tyasya mohanartham kalo yuge vedante tu mahashastre mayavadam avaitikam mayaiva vakshyate devi jagatam nashakaranat. The Mayavadi philosophy, Lord Shiva informed his wife Parvati, is impious as such shastra. It is covered Buddhism. My dear Parvati, in Kali Yuga, I assume the form of a Brahmana and teach this imagined Mayavad philosophy. In order to teach the atheist, I describe the Supreme Person Godhead to be without form and without qualities. Similarly, in explaining Vedanta, I describe the same Mayavad philosophy in order to mislead the entire population towards atheism by denying the personal form of the Lord. Shiv Puran, the Supreme Person Godhead, Lord told Lord Shiva, Dvaparo yuge bhutva kalaya manusha swagame kalpitastvam cha janan mad vimukhan kuru. In Kali Yuga, mislead the people in general by propounding imaginary meanings for the Vedas to bewilder them. These are the descriptions of the Puranas. Oh,
But, sorry,
yeah.
what was the purpose of doing that? I mean, I know people are fallen in Kali Yuga and they are already bewildered, and now he comes and bewilders them even more with all this indirect meaning.
Yes, because of Buddhism. Because what has happened, the karma kandis, there was this Ashwamedha Yagya, Gomedha Yagya, and these karma kandiya methods of yagya for self-realization, for increasing our piety and then gradually improve so that we can actually become advanced and purified, etc., etc. But the karma kandiyas, they lost their potency. For whatever reason, the brahmanas, they lost their potency, and most only due to not being proper brahmanas, not following the Vedic principles properly. So they lost their power. So when they were doing those sacrifices, Gomedha or Cow-medha, Gomedha or Ashwamedha, the animals would die in that sacrifice. But those brahmanas would not admit that their system is wrong, that their potency is gone, because that Ashwamedha sacrifice, they put an old cow in the yagya and it comes out as a rejuvenated. The soul will get a new fresh body, and that will test the potency of the mantras. Now they could no longer do this. The cows were dying in the yagya. But you know how people are, all of us. Even though I fail, still I refuse to admit that I'm a failure. I won't accept that, I'm doing something wrong, that I've failed. So it went on and on. So finally, brahmanas became animal killers, right? So naturally, the population also become meat eaters. If the brahmanas become meat eaters, so okay, yeah. So what do we do with all these So the Brahmanas became go meat, go meat eaters of cows, right? The ahankar is such a thing that even though you're wrong, don't want to admit you're wrong. You make mistake after mistake. So the karma kandiya, so animal were being unnecessarily slaughtered. So then Gautam Buddha came. So in order to stop this karma kandiya sacrifice. So he had a huge argument. So Gautam Buddha like bewildered the mind of this karma kandiya and made them give up the Vedas. So he asked the question, where is it said that you should do this yajna? So the karma kandiya said, in our Vedas. So Gautam Buddha means he's very intelligent, right? Very intelligent. So he bewildered their mind and he made them accept that actually the Vedas are not proper. So then so give up the Vedas and follow him. Meaning that the Vedas vanished from India. And then gradually what happened? So one king Ashok, he became very like prominent. So he spread this philosophy of Buddhism everywhere. Ahimsa paro dharmo. That was the philosophy of Shankaracharya, Buddha. Right? So where Bharat Varsh is, everybody became Buddhist. So then Shankaracharya, he came. He came and he presented a philosophy that was half atheist and half theist. So he brought back the Vedas, but he didn't bring the personal form of the law. That's what happened. So the question is, the question was, why did Shankaracharya do all this? So here the answer is given that because he was ordered by the Supreme Lord to do it. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that Mukhya Vritti, the direct meaning is Abhidha Vritti, or the meaning that one can understand immediately from the statements of dictionaries. Whereas Gona Vritti, the indirect meaning, is a meaning that one imagines without consulting the dictionary. For example, one politician has said that Kurukshetra refers to the body, but in the dictionary there is no such definition. Therefore, this imaginary meaning is Gona Vritti, whereas the direct meaning found in the dictionary is Mukhya Vritti or Abhidha Vritti. This is the distinction between the two. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that one understand the Vedic literature in terms of Abhidha Vritti, and the Gona Vritti he rejects. Sometimes, however, as a matter of necessity, the Vedic literature is described in terms of the Lakshana Vritti or Gona Vritti, that one should not accept such explanations as permanent truth. You understand what is, I hope everybody's got pen and pencil, because these are all pen and paper, whatever, because these are all like, you have to really study this. What is Gona Vritti? What is Mukhya Vritti? Who will tell me?
Imaginary.
What is imaginary?
Hmm? Gonavitri is imaginary. Like you give an imaginary meaning to something.
Yeah, imagine meaning.
Whereas you have to go to the dictionary to get the real meaning. That is Mukhya Vritti.
Yes. So Gona Vritti, meaning you imagine something. And what example is
Speculate.
given?
Yeah.
What example is given here? Prabhupada gives an example.
Kurukshetra.
Yeah, what does he
refers
say about it?
The body.
It says
Kurukshetra in the body.
Yeah. So what does he say about it?
The imaginary meaning is that Kurukshetra is your body.
Yes.
When
And
it's
the direct meaning is?
it's a dam. It's a sacred place.
It's a place of pilgrimage.
Yeah, pilgrimage. It's a
Right?
dam.
Yeah. It's a place of pilgrimage. All right. The purpose of the discussions in the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra is to philosophically establish the personal feature of the absolute truth. The impersonalists, however, in order to establish their philosophy, accept these discussions in terms of lakshana vritti or indirect meanings. Thus, instead of being tattvavad or in search of the absolute truth, they became mayavad or illusion by their material energy. When Sri Vishnu Swami, one of the four acharyas of the Vaishnav cult, presented his thesis on the subject matter of Shuddha Dvaita Vad, immediately the Mayavadi took advantage of this philosophy and tried to establish their Advaita Vad of Kevaladvaita Vad. To defeat this Kevaladvaita Vad, Sri Ramanujacharya presented his philosophy as Vishishtadvaita Vad, and Sri Madhvacharya presented his philosophy of Tattvavad, both of which are stumbling blocks to the Mayavadis because they defeat their philosophy in scrupulous detail. Students of Vedic philosophy know very well how strongly Sri Ramanujacharya's Vishishtadvaita and Sri Madhvacharya's Tattvavad contest the impersonal Mayavad philosophy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, accepted the direct meaning of the Vedanta philosophy and thus defeated the Mayavad philosophy immediately. He opined in this connection that anyone who follows the principle of the Shariraka Bhasya is doomed. So Shankaracharya presented one philosophy. Then Vishnu Swami, he presented one philosophy. Right? Then Ramanujacharya, so meaning everybody, all the Vaishnava Sampradaya are counteracting the philosophy of the Mayavad. Ramanujacharya, then Madhvacharya, all these acharyas say, I don't have the details here, I haven't studied in depth. All this, here very briefly, everything is given. But if you are interested to learn about the philosophy of the Vaishnava Sampradaya, you can go to vihe.org and you will find these philosophies are discussed. I think Purushatrai Maharaj, he gave some lectures on this. The four Vaishnava Sampradaya, and then naturally Mayavad philosophy is discussed. So here very briefly Prabhupada is giving. Direct meaning. So now this is confirming Padma. He opined in this connection, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that anyone who follows the principles of the Sharirika Bhasha is doomed. We just read in the verse itself, verse 109. One who hears such explanation is ruined. Now, this is confirmed in Padma Puran. So, Mahaprabhu said one thing. Just like earlier, I said that if we, in our discussion with somebody, we make a statement, then we say, well, why are we saying on what authority? The authority of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is saying, it's not that he's just saying it. So now what he's saying is being backed up by Shastra. Earlier, we also studied this in the Vedanta Sutra. If you want to make it a presentation at a particular point, finally, you have to back it up with Shastra. Then it can be accepted. So in Padma Puran, Lord Shiva tells Parvati, Shrinu Devi Pravakshami Ramasani Yathatamam Yesham Shravana Matrena Patityam Janinam Vapihi Apartham Shruti Vakyanam Darshayal Loka Galitam Swarupa Karma Swarupa Tyajitvam Atracha Pratipadyate Sarva Karma Paribramshan Neshkarmyam Tatra Chochate Paratma Jivayor Ekyam Ayatra Pratipadyate. Okay. Anupama, you want to read this last section?
Yes. My dear wife, hear my explanations of how I have spread ignorance through Mayavad philosophy. Simply by hearing it, even an advanced scholar will fall down. In this philosophy, which is certainly very inauspicious for people in general, I have misrepresented the real meaning of the Vedas and recommended that one give up all activities in order to achieve freedom from karma. In this Mayavad philosophy, I have described the Jivatma and Paramatma to be one and the same. How the Mayavad philosophy was condemned by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers is described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila, second chapter, verses 94 through 99, where Sarup Damodar Das Goswami says that anyone who is eager to understand the Mayavad philosophy must be considered insane. This specially applies to a Vaishnav who reads the Shariraka Bhashya and considers himself to be one with God. The Mayavadi philosophers have presented their arguments in such attractive, flowery language that hearing Mayavad philosophy may sometimes change the mind of even a Mahabhagavata or very advanced devotee. An actual Vaishnava cannot tolerate any philosophy that claims God and the living being to be one and the same.
All right. So what is the problem with this philosophy of Shankaracharya?
Jiva is considered one with God.
Yeah, that's the problem. All right. The Vaishnava not ready to accept that the Jiva and the Supreme Lord are equal. That's the problem. That many people, they like this philosophy. It's very nice. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, anyone who is eager to understand the Mayavad philosophy must be considered insane. So, any question on this now? If we take another one, to go long. Long. Anything else? Anyway, this section is tough. It's really like, it's philosophy. It's tough.
Mataji, this line is also so scary that may sometimes change the mind of even a Mahabhagavata.
Oh. Why do you think this may happen?
So they have presented their arguments in a Shakti flowery language.
Where does it say Mahabharata? The fall down in Mahabharata. Where is it?
The second last
Right,
line.
it's the last, yeah. The last sentence.
The Mayavadi philosophers have presented their argument in such attractive, flowery language that hearing Mayavad philosophy may sometimes change the mind of even a Mahabhagat or very advanced divinity. An actual Vaishnava cannot tolerate any philosophy that claims God and the living being to be one and the same.
One.
Yeah. So, a few things here. My dear wife, hear any of my explanations of how I have spread ignorance through Mayavad philosophy. Simply by hearing it, even an advanced scholar will fall down. Meaning that, scholars meaning that it's so much of the intellect, right? And because this intellect doesn't have a shelter in Krishna. So even though he's very intellectual, if he will hear that Mayavad philosophy, he may become convinced that yes, this is just like the Buddhists. The Buddhists were they were highly philosophical. The program was a lot of philosophy. So Shankaracharya had to debate with them on the basis of philosophy, had to be very strong with the philosophy, right? So similarly, so if we remain only as a scholar and we don't become an actual bhakta, then we may fall down. And now, Prabhupada is describing, I don't know whether this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu is actually giving a warning. He's giving a warning that don't think that you're very steady and fixed, that I'm a Mahabhagavad, I'm really fixed in devotional service and nothing can move me, just like those who follow Karma Kandya, Indra sent one Menaka, and this poor Muni, he loses everything, right? So similarly, in the circle of devotees, so we may think that, yes, I'm really fixed on the path of devotional service, that I will not shift from my desire to surrender to Krishna. But this Mayavad philosophy is so strong that maybe it doesn't happen if he's a Mahabharata, proper Mahabharata. And Prabhupada says here, an actual Vaishnava cannot tolerate any philosophy that claims God and the living being to be one and the same. So meaning that if we believe I'm already fixed in Mahabharata, meaning he's not actually fixed. Right? He's not actually fixed. So he has a lot of knowledge that he can get converted to accept. Why? Why this? Actually, I did ask this question. Why? What's about this Mayavad philosophy that's so attractive? What's so attractive? I asked this question and I never forgot the answer. It was many years back. So according to you, why is it that the Mayavadi philosophy is so attractive?
Because Mataji, we all came to this world to become God. So when someone confirms that, you feel that's correct.
Yes, very good philosophy. Yes, we all came here to become God. Right,
So that's attractive. Yeah.
Either Indra God, right? The controllers of heavenly planets.
Oh God.
Or we become one with God. So okay, I'm not interested in Indra because there are too many demons ready to attack me. So better give up all that post So what do we become? Let us become one with God in the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. And we read other things also, Mayavad, philosophy. Anyway, these are but you're doing very well. You're being very patient and you're listening. And so we are like children trying to read these purports. We are not great scholars, but Prabhupada has written in his purports, so therefore we are taking a little trouble. But do read again. Do read again. See, I have little background, so that's why it's easier for me. Because I have attended courses, heard many lectures, but everything went out of my mind. Everything is lost. But when I'm reading the purport, I'm remembering bits and pieces. So that's why I'm understanding. But for quite some time, I actually attended courses and this philosophy. So I'll give you a treasure house of knowledge, of a library, vihe.com, .org, vihe.org. So many lectures, there's so many, this is where I studied mostly. You have Ravindra Sarup Prabhu, he has spoken about Mayavad philosophy. Purushottam Maharaj, he given the 4 Vaishnava Sampradaya. Kamal Lochan Prabhu spoke about the 6th system of philosophy. Bhakti Charan Swami on Chatur Shloki, and Bhakti Charan Swami also. So you just go and, if you're interested, go and hear their lectures. So then all this become easier for all of us. All right. Because, we are here reading together, so bits and pieces have been pulled out of my memory. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Kalpatarubhyascha kripas. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.